Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Conversations with Anasa. So happy to be with you. Well, okay. So let's start with meditation, as always. So take your attention inside and breathe down to below your belly button and allow your mind to fall down below your belly button. And join the real mind of the body, which is in the gut. So all the way down to the lower abdomen and pelvis, just below the belly button, not quite to the pelvis. And allow all your attention to drop into that space. And now begin to focus on the space between the breaths in that same location. And then drop down to the tip of the tailbone. And just in front of that is an energy center. But it of course encompasses that whole area. Feeling again for the space between the breaths. And feel yourself getting quiet. And if and when your mind launches into whatever, just bring your attention back as you discover it. Ever training your mind to be aware of itself. So that you can live in the deeper part of yourself than the thoughts. When you're ready, allow your attention to come up to the solar plexus, just below your rib cage. And a lot of us have trouble in this particular energy center, reclaiming it. Because this is the source of the power behind our speech. And women as a whole are encouraged not to speak from power. So reclaiming this energy center is really important because the diaphragm is where the power comes from. Of course, the speech itself comes from the throat. Once we've opened the throat, we need the diaphragm to assert the power. And that power comes from deep relaxation and a feeling of inner confidence. That knowing that we deserve to be heard. We have a right to be here in body completely. Again, feeling for the space between the breaths in the solar plexus. When you're ready, gently move into the heart center. Again, feeling for the space between the breaths. And as you breathe to the back of your heart, feel that that space is also open. Offer an invitation for it to show you anything that hasn't been seen till now. feeling for the space between the breaths and releasing ourselves into that. And when you're ready, your energy will naturally gravitate upward to the throat center. Breathe directly into it. And you may notice some resistance or restriction. Just breathe into it. You may swallow. Mhm. And when you're ready, let your energy rise to the third eye, breathing into that energy center. And then feeling into the crown center. And the energetic space above. And let's spend a few minutes feeling the energy in and around our bodies circulating. Hmm. When you're ready, gently open your eyes a crack and let the light in. Holding your attention in the inner space. Gently allow your eyes to take in the world as you hold your awareness inside. Hmm. How may we serve this morning? Yes.
I've been wondering how your process is going from transition process that you spoke about after your operation. You look wonderful.
Oh, thank you. I I I feel wonderful. It's actually been quite the process. Uh, I went to my acupuncturist a week after the surgery, and I felt like I was in chaos. And what she said is one side is doing one thing and the other side is doing the exact opposite. And they they were not yet communicating very well. And then again, a week later, she said, the only thing for you to do for you is acupuncture every week for a while. So, and she's quite a fine acupuncturist. She trained with both surgeons and acupuncturists in China in the same hospital, and they actually communicated and worked together. So she's quite well educated. Her name is Dr. Zhou. So I'm doing a commercial. Anyway, she saw me a week later, and the same thing was still happening. They were not communicating. And so she just shook her head and said, come back again next week. And then this week I went in a few days ago, and she said they're finally doing the same thing. But the thing is that the energy that I experience is not always reliable. And the guides have told me same that when I have surges of energy, they're not necessarily to be spent in the world, but they may have to do with healing my body at this point. And so to be a little bit careful about how much I offer in these days of recovery. So, and I've had at least one experience of that was pretty dramatic. But my labs have all normalized, so that's good. I had a kidney test a week ago that was abnormal enough that it scared me, although it did not scare the surgeon. So, and I saw him last week, and he just repeated the test, and of course this week it was normal. So I won't see him for another 6 months. So I've been released. So that's how things are going. I feel much better. I'm getting back to exercising, which is really imperative. I've missed that a lot. And so that's where things are. That's probably more than you wanted to know.
No, that's exactly what we wanted to know.
Yeah, yeah. I don't have so many filters in place right now, so everything just sort of pours out. Hmm.
Thank
Especially
you.
here. Oh, you're so welcome. Thanks for asking. Yeah, it's very interesting because I feel better than I have in decades. You know, my calcium is now in the normal range, and I don't know that I've experienced that as an adult. And so my body is no longer trying to turn to stone, is sort of how I would, there's a kind of fluidity that I didn't have before. And so that's very interesting. So a lot of things are changing because of that.
It's wonderful to get like re-upping, a new lease on life in a way. That's what it seems like.
Yes, yeah, that's really my experience. It's it's unbelievable, and of course totally unexpected, because I really felt like I was, on the downhill skids, and, and that it was, just going to be a quick slide. It was feeling like that. So to have that totally reverse is remarkable, and to tell you the truth, unexpected. It's hard to feel like even the possibility that that's going to reverse. Um, anybody who's been sick knows that it's whatever you feel in the moment feels like that's the forever sentence, whichever direction it's going. So that's kind of delightful at this moment.
Part of the work that I do, especially in meditation, is letting go of that feeling. Yes, I'm aging. Yes, things are happening, but it doesn't have to look like a downward slope, a slippery slope. Um, Allowing for the possibility of an opening up to better has been mm, sort of a question of is is that possible? And what you just said um, sort of illustrated that possibility to me.
Well, yes. I mean, it's really interesting because, well, I've been thinking about this a lot in astrology, is that when you see things for someone, you know, as one of my teachers put it, you don't want to cheerlead them off the ledge. You know, but at the same time, you don't want to say that there's nothing that can be done, that things are they really look bad. So there's this within ourselves, there's this devotion to honesty that, you know, attempt to fearlessly face our demise at the same time as we engage in the highest quality life that's possible for us in every dimension. And understanding that the inner is the most important at this stage of our lives. We would say it's always the most important, but it's undeniable at this stage of our lives that the inner is the most important guide to how we behave in all aspects of our life. And at the same time, there's this intense Rebecca, what we're feeling is this intense desire not to cling to that which isn't real. And flow into that which is real, which is the opposite of what, worldly life would have us expect. And, sadly for us in this moment, the language does not cross that into that flow very well. Because our language can't encompass the third dimensional language can't encompass the fifth dimension. Is the easiest way we can say it, that in a world where everything is based on the experience of love, shared resource. The concept of shared everything and everything being a part of everything else and naturally responsive in all these feedback loops that are geared toward the highest rather than the lowest common denominator. They're geared toward creating phenomenological experience for all participants that is ever increasing flow and communion and the assumption of all being focused on the highest best for the whole. That's the assumption. And of course, Anasa, our goal is to replace the matrix of belief with a blueprint for this possibility within ourselves in humanity. And as human beings, we are responsible to allow this blueprint to shift to the fifth dimension so that we can pave the way for those around us. And as we become, each of us, a vortex of that experience of fifth dimensional reality, we encourage the evolution into that in every life that our life touches, because we become a demonstration of it. In our beingness and our willingness to share that with every person we meet. It's an energetic field that we become that attracts others to want to experience same. A life of shared joy is the possibility.
We had an experience that sounds like what you're speaking of. It was very ordinary, but we had to go to Kaiser for shots, and Wells had to go for lab and stuff. And we went out. Well, while I was waiting, I had a really open, natural, flowing, spontaneous conversation with a man who was waiting for his wife. And it was shared, it, it was quieter than joy, but it was so, what can I say? Well, pleasant doesn't cover it, but really free and a sharing of experience. I learned about another person who I'd never met before. And then we went out to dinner, and the owner of the restaurant came by just to, you know, do the walkthrough. And we talked with her and really got into her experience. Um, we both left the encounter happier than even we were, and we were fairly happy when we walked in. But I was just, I don't see many new people because we live far away from everybody. And um, anyway, So it was such a uplifting experience to connect with people on a heart level so easily, so quickly, and it left me feeling happier about humans for one thing, and also that I can be totally myself, totally truthful about everything, and just respond to others in a new way or a more full way. It's always been pretty easy, but in a more full way. Anyway, for some reason that sounded like what you were saying about connecting on a deeper level, even though it wasn't about spiritual matters, it was about life, though, real life.
We're going to say we hope everybody's voting. Uh, yes, it's
Oh,
really
yes.
important. Anasa sees this election as a choice actually between good and evil. It's that clear. And so it's really important to do our part and be present with what happens afterwards so that if there is any response that's needed, we're capable of participating in whatever. And as you know, we don't make predictions because everyone has free will. And free will is not predictable. That's the nature of it. But we are optimistic. Yes. And a lot is resting on this for humanity. The whole world is at stake in this moment. And we're so happy to hear politicians talking about lifting people up and meaning it. Because this is the purpose of government. It's the purpose of community is to support those who can't keep up. That's it. That's what government is for. I mean, we need all the things like roads and schools and you know, but also we need to support those who can't support themselves and pour money into education and children and all of these things. So anyway, that's our political announcement for the day. Yes.
Hey, not to throw a wrench in that wonderful work because I do believe that as well. But I also have people close, very close to me, who well, there's so much misinformation out there, and if you just decide to tune a little bit off the track, there's a lot of really clever misinformation.
Mhm.
Um, that tunes people into, it algorithms, I guess, and finds what people are interested in or what they're worried about and targets that. And yeah, so I mean, I don't think I have anyone even that I know vaguely who would vote for Trump, but I have people who won't vote for Harris. And I don't want to tell them that that is a vote for Trump because I
It
don't want to
is.
get into I don't
Yeah,
want to get into that,
you don't want to have the conflict, but if there's any conflict worth having at this moment, it's that one. Because that's the truth. A vote for, not for Harris, is a vote for Trump. So
I don't.
I would encourage those conversations, although I we we see the potential for lasting conflict in bringing it up because people are so polarized at this moment. And you're exactly right. The misinformation is very tangibly real and targeted to exploit people's fears. And people's prejudices. And you combine the fears and the prejudice, and you get a lot of powerful negative reaction. And that's how we see all that. But this moment is important. It's a choice point for humanity. And we see the powers lining up in the world for a lot of potential violence. And it's quite ominous future. So we hope to have adults in the White House.
Yeah, have heard from people who I trust their word, um, that if Harris can get over all the voting irregularities and outright stealing and keeping people from voting, they've got so many different ways they do it. But if she does actually win, that there's going to be
Oh
violence
yeah,
out.
there'll be violence. We
Yeah.
we see it. We see it coming, and so does everybody else. There's a lot of preparation. We hope, and January 6th and January 20th are definitely going to be leverage points for an attempt to instill power against the will of the people.
Right. And the last time with the coup, the attempted coup, people are saying that that was just a practice run.
Exactly. That was a practice run to see where the weaknesses are. And they're in place. They've been trying to take over as many levers to control that as possible. And, both sides are aware. So it's going to be a battle, but we have to vote her in first by a landslide. And it looks like that's possible. If all the women vote, that will happen. Really, that's the truth. If all the women vote, there will be a landslide. And so uh, we actually are suspicious that this intense idea of how close the race is just that women are quiet. They don't want the men to know how they're going to vote. And so, but all you have to do is if all the women vote, you know, it's about our power. It's really about female power. And are we going to have a say over our bodies? And every woman who has any sense knows that. And
Yeah, I've heard so many women on Trump's side, educated, intelligent seeming women, arguing or debating issues on Trump's side. And I say, how could they do that? How could they?
Well, that's their problem, not ours.
I hope there's not too many of them. That's all.
Well, there's no explaining insanity, voting against your own best interests. So our prayers are going in that direction. And really it's important to be involved in this moment because it's critical. And there is that what we're voting for is the separation between church and state. That's one of the things we're voting for because we don't want to be impelled by somebody else's religious beliefs or imperiled, as the word may be. Yes.
I just wanted to say it was so good to hear that you encourage communication with people who may or may not um, be voting for Trump. Our handyman helper is here pretty much every day of the week doing stuff that really helps the quality of our life. Rebuilding things, maintaining things, anyway, things that we can't do anymore. And
Mhm.
he's a wonderful person. And he listens to talk radio, the Fox News and Lars Larson and that sort of thing. And so he has some ideas that are, yeah, slightly far out. And I have been um, offering him the other viewpoint um, gently. I don't want to engender resistance in him or feeling as any kind of negativity. I don't want to engender any kind of negativity. And yet I've felt, as you were saying, the importance of speaking to a person who may be receptive. I mean, there are some people that it would be like talking to a brick wall. But this person it has a good heart and might be able to hear. And I've been putting it out there, and my husband here says that that wasn't a good idea. Um, uh, that
Well,
that he says you let sleeping dogs lie and don't poke the hornet's nest and whatnot. But anyway, so it was very good to hear a little bit of encouragement in that department.
yeah, we'll also say choose your battles. You know, I have a brother that it's not worth the conversation to create the conflict because he lives in Arizona. He's uh he's completely convinced he's right. And so it would cost the relationship for no benefit, for no reason. There's no there to negotiate with. It's a prejudice.
Our brother was the same. Our brother was, you
Yeah.
could be describing our brother, who is no longer with us, but he was the same way.
Yeah. Well, and it has to do with decisions of being the antithesis of my father. And so in politics, he is that way too, and there's nothing to be done. Nothing to be done. So it's not always worth it, but if there's even a slight toehold to make that shift in a person about how important this is, it's not just a one issue election. and what's at stake sort of transcends, those one issue things. If there's any potential for a shift in there. Yes.
I actually found chinks in our brother's
Yeah. Good.
armor, whatever it was. And yeah, the because we had other things in common.
Uh-huh.
And so we could go from a common place and make it relevant to whatever it was we were doing. The I Ching says the best way to combat evil is to make energetic progress in the good. Yes.
Exactly. And that starts inside. And then, I mean, we totally agree. I have flow with my brother. I I have not destroyed that flow because that is more important to me for the power of the future than than this moment. So yeah, it's we have to live consciously. That's what this conversation is about. It's about conscious decision and and investing in the flow of the moment to promote the future in whatever way is possible. And there are times when we have to cut off relatives because they are not helpful. And that happens too. When they turn so dark we can't be there, then we have to respond in that way. But if there's flow with potential for positivity, we feed it. So that's conscious living. There are no exact rules about good and bad or how to be in a conversation. Every single one is going to be different. And much of what life is learning what works and what doesn't. And so, there's a lot of trial and error in our evolution. But in ourselves, to keep it real is important. What else? Oh, one thing we need to say is we're going to be traveling quite a bit in the next couple of weeks. We won't be here the coming Sunday or the Sunday after that. Am I telling the truth, Brenda?
Next Wednesday, or this Wednesday, and this,
We'll be here
Two-
Wednesday.
yeah,
Yeah, we'll be here Wednesday
We'll be gone the next two Sundays.
and we'll be gone the next 2 Sundays. And the Wednesday in between that will be gone. We'll be gone for that, but we'll be here for this Wednesday. And then the third Sunday after today, which is the fourth. What?
so, the 10th, and then the 17th.
The 10th will be here, right? No, we're gone the 10th.
Yeah.
We're gone the 10th. We will be here on the 17th.
Yeah, maybe you should send out a message.
Yeah,
I'll send out an email.
yeah. Yeah,
So that sounds like it's the 3rd and the 10th, just looking at my calendar of November, that
that's
you'll
right.
be
The
gone.
3rd and the 10th, we are
Sundays.
gone. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
We'll be in retreat next weekend, and the weekend following that, we have a family visit.
Thank you for that discussion on the politics, because it's been hot.
It is really
And
hot.
the lack of integrity is just difficult for me. But
Oh,
what's the best we can do in the Anasa temple? I mean, wish the best for all, or something more specific?
well, the thing to do is the highest best in the election for the American people.
Got it.
And we will be setting that on the encoders and broadcasting that. And we'll broadcast it until it's safe to stop.
Okay. Good to know. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. And because the highest best really, it takes into account the fact that we might be wrong.
Yeah.
The highest best for the whole is really what we cling to.
Yeah. Okay. And it could be we all need a big fat lesson. So I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you know, that was what we were told. A long time ago, there was an election. I mean, when we were first communicating with the NASA, and they said it's important that somebody come in and pull the tablecloth out from under all the utensils
Uh-huh.
at the table, so that everything gets shooken up and people understand what's at stake.
For all who was asleep, perhaps.
Yes, yeah, and so we would say that maybe about the first time that Trump was elected.
Ah, my gosh. Talk about crazy man.
Yeah, the Joker in power.
Oh,
But you know, now there's so many. I mean, he was neutralized by the people who really hold the reins. But you know, now they've learned like where all those people are, and they'll uproot the whole system. It'll be finished.
Yeah.
Yeah, we see it.
My goodness.
Yeah.
We'll find our way.
What a perilous moment.
It's very uncomfortable.
Where's Frodo when we need him?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I guess we all got a little bit of Frodo that we have to carry, right?
Yeah, you know, Michelle Obama, you know, came out of her seclusion to say this is such an important moment, I can't be silent. So, you know, all the stops are out.
I just wanted to ask too if I've misplaced the mantra, the long mantra. I had it for a while and it just floated away. And I'm wondering,
Nijam Mahe Sugandhi Pushtivatanam.
I'll put it in the chat or.
Yeah, Brenda's putting it in the chat again.
okay, you could also email it if that's possible.
Yeah,
'cause
I can do both.
Yeah, put it in the email about the schedule, and that way everybody will have it.
That'd be great because the
Yeah.
chat goes away as soon as the
Right.
as soon
So
as
we
the
can't
goes
say
away.
enough good about that mantra. That mantra is completely, it's the mantra for enlightenment. So whenever you're facing fear of death and any lesser fear, that's the mantra to, you know, to hold to, because that mantra has got it.
Yeah, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm Brenda.
Yeah. So we'll tell you, we don't know if we shared this before, but before Rebecca's, you know, when trying to schedule the surgery, she went to her Indian astrology teacher and they did what's called a muhurta, which is muhurta is when you look for the best date, the most auspicious date to schedule an event. And so there are a whole bunch of rules that you follow to find the most auspicious date. And one of them is to avoid an eclipse. and you know, we went through all the rules and did everything and came up with a day after the eclipse as the best date we could come up with. And then when the real process happened, it was either the day of the eclipse or a day later, a day later, that would have already been getting into the sort of gray zone that we're in now, where the planets aren't that helpful to anything or anybody. They aren't exactly harmful, but they're not so helpful. Jupiter's retrograde, Sun is debilitated, Mars is debilitated, so there's a lot happening in the sky that's not so helpful. And there's an election. So it's a difficult time in the sky. That's what we'll say. And the election day itself does show potential for violence. Pluto is in direct opposition to Mars, and they're like less than 2 degrees apart. And so they're facing each other. Pluto is the planet of death and rebirth, and Mars is the planet of war. And so when they are opposite each other, there is conflict. And so there's the potential for major conflict in Washington, D.C. on that day, on the day of the election. In the election chart, we look at Washington, D.C. because that's where the contest is actually taking place. So, yes, it's a difficult time, and we all need to be on our toes, and anything could happen. Because internationally, the world is very fragile right now. At the same time, you know, keep your loved ones close and your love flowing inside yourself. Avoid all negativity towards self and other that we can, so that we can be happy no matter what in this circumstance. So that we can be full of flow and generosity to those we share our life with and whoever we come in contact with. And it's just interesting that we need to travel at this time. It's unusual for us, but necessary. It's family stuff.
I feel like we're really fortunate here in Oregon. It's almost easy to be complacent. I mean, we've had vote by mail for so long that there's no argument anymore. There's no way to negate it, even if people would try. So they don't. So I have had my ballot for a few days, and I'm going to send it in probably tomorrow.
Yeah, we're same.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're blessed. And you know, we haven't had natural disasters like a lot of the country recently. Ollie just growled, that's why I left. Or a dog. What else? We don't have any sense of time this morning, so,
So 10 after.
okay. How may we serve?
Well, I just want to say that I'm so happy to know that you're feeling good and recovery is going well. And also want to share that I am so filled with fear and sadness and anxiety about this election. And all I can do is just pray all day long, every day. And I think we're in such a precarious position, and I just feel so hopeless. I mean, not hopeless, but helpless. And it's kind of discouraging to know that the planets are not in our favor necessarily.
Well, the planets are not in anybody's favor. You know, it this is maybe the main thing we've learned in astrology is that the entire world is subject to the astrology. So it's not that um that it's bad for one side or the other. It's just difficult for everyone. And who rises above the difficulty are those who know themselves very, very well and hold to the love in their hearts no matter what, through whatever crisis. And that is our salvation, holding to that love, because in that love, we are connected to our own divinity and that which is real. And you've been working on that for decades. So even though life is difficult outside and looks ominous, you have every reason to be joyous in yourself. Every reason. And to hold to that, because yes, there's fear that all the worst things could happen around us. But we will not lose our integrity in that situation. We will continue to be who we are, and we may be called on to act heroically in those situations. And, we've been cultivating the capacity to do that for decades, if called on. So we don't know what life is going to bring. And so we hold to our practice because we know it connects us to what's real and what's ultimately important. And so in the gratitude for that possibility having been shared with us, we still sleep at night, maybe better than we used to since the surgery. And we know that in whatever way we're called on, we'll do our best. And that's all we can do. And you, of course, have been working very, very hard on the capacity to do that. And we see you being very successful. So no need for fear. Just enjoy the ride. It's going to be exciting. Whatever happens, it will be exciting. And
Well, thank you for those encouraging words. I do try to practice gratitude, and sometimes when I hear about North Korea sending troops to Russia, I kind of lose my focus and forget about all my blessings. I get so scared.
the worst that's going to happen is we die sooner, quicker. I mean, there's not,
That's starting to look real good to me.
yeah, yeah. I know what you mean. I really do. But we live in interesting times.
Yeah,
We just live in interesting times. And so as long as we hold to the love in our hearts, we are doing the right thing.
oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I can do that.
We know that. We know that very well. We just wanted to be sure you know that, because we have nothing to fear. Just hold to that love.
Okay.
That's what it's for. Yeah, to share with everybody you know.
Thank you.
So welcome. Just we're so happy to be able to say that, because everybody in this call has been working to do that. And we've been doing it for a couple of years now together, and it's just fantastic. It's just
Yeah.
growing and growing in ourselves. And that's so, so beautiful. That's the whole point. And, it doesn't matter if there's 6 people or 6,000. This is our call to be here to grow the love. And how beautiful for anyone to be successful in this. There is no greater gift, none, that we can give to ourselves or anybody else who touches our lives, all of us. So thank you, thank you, thank you for being here, and let's meditate some more before we go forward. Mm. We love your input, and we're so grateful. Thank you so much for being here with us today. We've so enjoyed your company. We're so grateful for your growth and dedication to this process. Mm. So much love to you all, and we'll see you in a few weeks. All best. Oh.